I'm John Generone, editor-in-chief of Tech Edge. Very happy to be here today with an exciting company, one of the very, very first SaaS businesses out there, founded 25 years ago. This is Qualys, and we have the president and CEO, Sumedh Thakar. I'm going to pass the baton to my colleague, Jarrett Banks, who's going to bring on today's guest. Jarrett?
Hi, Sumedh. Let's get into it. You've got some big news. Qualys is launching the enterprise TruRisk management product. This is really the culmination of 25 years of innovation there at Qualys, isn't it?
It is. Well, first of all, thank you, John and Jared, for having me on the show. It's really a pleasure to be talking about what we have been doing for the last 25 years and what we're aiming for the future, given the trends that we're seeing in cybersecurity. And so I have been at Qualys for 25 years, started as one of the first engineers on the platform. So it's certainly been a very interesting journey of continuous learning and evolution as the world around us has digitized and evolved. And I think what initially started as like, hey, let's do some stuff around security maybe 25 years ago has really now grown into a full-blown risk management exercise. And that's what it is. Cybersecurity process in a company or in an organization, in a government, is all about reducing the potential of anything bad happening, right? So just like with any other risk, it is about being able to manage that risk. There is nothing like zero risk. And so you have lots of different areas from which risk is coming. And the question is, what risk is really important to your business and which one should you spend your money, which is not a lot always, to focusing on how do we just reduce the possibility of doing that. And so the enterprise TruRisk management platform that we are releasing is really about learning for these last 20 plus years on how organizations, governments are really looking at aligning their cybersecurity practices, their spend in cybersecurity, their resources in cybersecurity to a risk reduction outcome, which if for a business is all about money, right? How much money do I stand to lose? And what is the risk of losing that money? What's the potential of losing that money? And how can we align the risks to that potential loss of revenue or potential loss of top line? And so this platform is really about giving enterprises that complete visibility across multiple different risk factors, aligning it to their business goals and outcomes. And then ultimately, we get no points for just creating visibility. We have to actually eliminate the risk. And that's the key part of the platform, is the ability to then look at everything and actually eliminate that risk, which is the only thing that counts when it comes to cybersecurity.
Great. Now, I understand that when you joined, you moved up the ranks as a coder, an engineer, president, and finally CEO. Talk us through a little bit about your journey and how has the company changed since you started?
Yeah, it's a little bit of an unusual journey, I would say, for Silicon Valley, where everybody changes their job every couple of years. I felt like staying at Qualys, I learned a lot, but I did a different job every couple of years. As you said, I was one of the first engineers that started on working on the platform side of what we were thinking at the time, which was quite interesting because the term SaaS did not exist. It was an idea of, hey, we can run these servers off of the internet and store your data. And so you can imagine how reluctant security buyers were at the time to do something like that, because we didn't have these nice terms, SaaS and cloud. Now, of course, cloud has become a fashion statement. You kind of have to say that you're cloud first, cloud native, cloud fresh, whatever it is. But Qualys truly was one of the very first movers into providing security services, leveraging what we now call as the SaaS technology. And we had a lot of resistance at the beginning. People were like, no, everything needs to be on-prem so I can control it, I can see it. And we saw that it took some time for people to really understand and learn the scale. And I would say that when I joined, cybersecurity was not that hot on people's mind. And so it was just something that people did on the side. And so our top customer, we would say, would be somebody who would essentially scan their entire environment, which would be like 5,000 servers in 1 quarter, right? That was good enough. People were like, once a quarter, we kind of do a sweep. Now we have customers who have millions, individual customers with millions of assets with us that are getting visibility every 2 to 4 hours, and even that they feel is not fast enough given how the threat landscape and the environment has scaled. And so, fun fact, I got laid off from my previous job, and so I got this job at Qualys, and I was like, I'm not sure the cybersecurity thing is going to grow. Should I stay with this company? Should I look at Yahoo for a job or something like that? And it really, one day, my father, who at the time internet banking was just coming online, and I saw the reluctance that he had because he didn't trust that my password would be stolen or something. He didn't want to use online internet-based banking at the time. And that really made me realize that, wow, you have this transformational technology that is coming out with digitization, but if people don't have trust in their digital systems, we will not get the benefits of all of this. And so I saw that cybersecurity was going to be truly paramount for businesses and enterprises and governments to really take us into the future. And so over the years, we have seen a shift in cybersecurity with how attackers are moving into the digital compromises a lot more than physical compromises, right? I mean, you take a simple example of maybe 40 years ago, you had a bank robbery would be, you would have to wear ski mask and go into a bank with guns, and like, how would you scale that? Well, you'd have to coordinate, 50 different branches across 50 different states to go hit a bank. Or now, all you have to do is really stay focused on finding that one server in the environment that you can compromise. And as we saw in Bangladesh and some other places, you lost $90 million in 1 hour. And so that gives a lot more of a payback. So we have seen the landscape evolve with the attackers are actually moving in and focusing really mainly on digital assets. And so, of course, the security of that has to follow. And so that is why we have seen the evolution. New technology has come about. People have found new ways to prevent these attacks, get visibility. Now AI is a big thing. Attackers are using AI, so defenders have to use AI. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is all about saying, how much do I stand to lose if I have an attack, and how much should I spend to reduce the possibility of that actually happening? And no matter what new buzzword comes, what new technology comes, that is the basic fact of cybersecurity, is that you are investing a certain amount of money to prevent the loss of a certain amount of money. And then you got to do your best job with the money that you're spending there.
That makes a lot of sense. What are some of the key products or initiatives that have had the biggest impact on the business?
I think we started really as the leader in vulnerability management space, which was been a core part of any risk management. Qualys, we focus a lot more on the pre-compromise, as we call it, right? Which is not about finding an attacker once they are in the environment, but it's a lot more about how do we give you the visibility to prevent an attacker actually exploiting things in your environment. And so in a simple way, we give the customer a hacker's eye view of their environment, right? What would a hacker see in your environment that they would go after? We want to give that to you on a continuous basis, so you as an enterprise, as a government organization, can actually fix that before an attacker gets to it. And so that's been really for us the focus. And so as digital transformation has evolved from on-prem systems to virtualized data centers to the cloud, Qualys has kept pace with ensuring that we continue to invest and build a platform where we are providing customer the visibility into a lot of their newer attack vectors and the newer technology that they are deploying, so that they can see all of that in a single place. And so what we did for many years is really focus on finding more vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, giving the visibility. But as digital transformation grew and people deployed more software just meant a lot more findings and a lot more vulnerabilities. And companies don't have that many resources to fix everything. And so what started becoming more important was not just finding things, but fixing things before an attacker got there, right? You could spend $10 million finding things, but if you didn't fix it before an attacker got there, people are going to question you're spending those $10 million. And so as we were very disruptive at the time when we launched this as a SaaS solution a few years ago, we decided to disrupt this space that we are in by actually providing ways for people to fix and mitigate the issue immediately, not just find and create dashboard, but we could actually patch your systems, right? And so that evolution helped a lot of our customers. In fact, just this year, we've already had about 60 million patches being deployed by customers using our technology to actually help mitigate the issue and not just discover the issue. And so products like that have been quite helpful for our business, because as we have evolved, the ability to actually remediate things is important. We have asset inventory has been a very crucial part, because if you're going to say, I want to protect my environment, the first question is, well, what do you have in the environment? And almost no organization can tell at any given point of time what kind of systems are actually running in their environment, right? So cybersecurity asset management has been a key part. And then more recently, we continue to focus on cloud security, which is a key area of focus for a lot of our customers with our total cloud offering, where customers can get a very cloud specific view of the risk that cloud technology now brings, right? Because you have, so this stuff is hosted by a cloud provider and you don't have full control over it. And there are new vectors that come in. And then the latest thing that we announced last month is around AI security. Everybody is rushing to deploy AI systems. What about the security of that? Do we even know what should we be looking for? What are attackers looking for in compromising AI systems? And so we announced our total AI product line, which we're really looking forward to something that will help our customers every single time that they're looking to deploy an AI system, to get that visibility before they deploy. So you're not deploying something that already is hackable, and then on a continuous basis keep monitoring, again, the hacker's eye view of that, to say, can I hack this? Can I get into it? Can I ask it questions that it should not respond to? And collect this data that is a new threat vector, because we have never had this sort of models that were trained on large amount of data, where we have no idea what the thing is going to respond when you ask a question, right? How do you protect against something like that? So pretty exciting product portfolio that we have been developing, so that we can keep pace with what customers are really looking to deal with, which is ultimately aligning with what hackers are looking to go after.
Very exciting. Just getting back to your personal journey, what are the top leadership lessons that you've learned in your career?
If you'd asked me this a few years ago, I would have said a lot of the things like hard work and things like that. But I think when I look at now, having done this job as a CEO for the last 3 years, I really feel like a leader has two jobs. One is to have a clear vision and articulate that vision to the team. And the second most important thing, I would say, is actually building a team of people who know better than you. And I think hiring, and because people make great companies. So when you can say that this company has a great technology, but that technology was actually developed by somebody. It was a person who developed that technology, took the leadership to develop that technology. And so I think I would say today, what I tell people is, the biggest leadership lesson is to know that you also have only 24 hours in the day, so you can't do everything. And so you need to hire people that actually know how to get those things done better than you are. And then you help them see the vision of where you want to take that product or that company, and let them empower them. Empowerment and ownership are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have empowerment without ownership, and you cannot have ownership without somebody feeling empowered. And so the best thing you can do, because you cannot do everything, is to find the right people who will actually get those things done even better than what you could have done.
All right, fantastic. I have one more question before I turn the reins over to my colleague here. How do you stand out in a highly competitive environment?
I think one of the advantages that I have had has been that I came from the engineering background and pivoted to product management and was a chief product officer for a long time. And I think that the one thing that I really learned is, in a competitive environment, at the end of the day, it is about creating the value for the customers. And so listening to customers, what they are looking for, is the most important aspect of creating products that will do well in a competitive environment. Because if you are coming with something that is just commoditized, then people are just like, well, that's no differentiation. So continuous evolution is number one. You cannot be stagnant. You have to continue to evolve. You have to continue to disrupt, and you have to listen to your customers. So the example I gave earlier is that while vulnerability management is where we came from, and the only thing that you do after doing your vulnerability scan is actually patch your system. Like, that's what you need to do. And yet nobody in the industry was actually doing patching, right? They're just finding things. All the scanners were finding stuff. And so we listened to our customers. They started to say that, hey, we are really struggling with getting the right things fixed, right? They were not asking us to go do patch management, but when we listened to our customers, we started to realize that the problem was shifting from how can I find more to how can I fix the right things quick and fast. And so because of that, this, even though none of the competitors had come up with that sort of a solution, even though analysts hadn't talked about it, because we listened to our customer rather than chasing a competition feature, we came up with something that was quite different, disruptive, and something that was extremely valuable to our customers. And so today, our customers are buying Qualys product because we're actually helping them fix things rather than competition product that they have to buy the product and they have to buy something else to fix those issues that are being found. And so I think that's, in my mind, is the way to stay ahead of the competition, is to continuously listen to your customers and have a platform and a team that is able to continuously evolve and shift and move fast by innovating and disrupting.
Great. John, you want to dig in a little more here?
Yeah, I will. Thanks a lot, Jarrett. Sumedh, I want to ask about a recent conference that you hosted, but before I do, I'm curious, can you tell me a bit about your typical customer profile, your clients? Can you work with small enterprises and big ones? Can you work across the board?
That's the beauty of SaaS solutions, right? That implementing, deploying, and using is so much easier when they are SaaS. So for us, we have customers that are huge customers. We have, the cloud providers. We have almost all the top 10 banks out there. We have large number of customers in the technology industry globally as well, right? And so for us, we have those customers have complex problems and they have complex teams. And it's interesting that SaaS is helping them solve those complex problems, which they find very hard with on-prem systems because they have to do so much work to get their on-prem system up and running. So in an interesting way, SaaS is helping solve complex challenges because of scale for larger customers. And then we have a whole bunch of SME, SMB customers where SaaS works really well for them in a combined solution for a different reason. It works well for them because they don't have a team. They don't have many people. The IT guy is the security guy. And so how do we help them say like, well, you don't have somebody else to pass this off to once you find something. You're the same person who's going to have to find and fix it. And so we have a customer profile where we have customers who are mom and pop stores that are leveraging largest banks in the world leverage Qualys for solving complex problems. And so that's really an advantage for having a truly SaaS product from day one.
That's interesting. Just a quick follow-up there, Sumedh. It makes sense to me that the big banks, for instance, would have very, very robust security in place. But something I've noticed in our coverage of smaller banks is sometimes their websites look old. And I'm wondering, do these guys need an upgrade across the board? And by the way, is it maybe easier than they might think to upgrade things?
I think I always feel like upgrading into anything should always be um, decided based on your business needs, right? Like you shouldn't upgrade for the sake of upgrading. Now, you might want to upgrade because you're losing customers to another bank because they offer a check deposit with the mobile app and you don't have one, right? That's a good reason to update. It could be because it's just so hard to use, people don't use that. Or it could be because it causes security issues, right? If you have an older site and that is actually prompting security issues, then that's what you should be focusing on. So in general, every company today has become a software company, right? No matter whether you're a bank or it's all, you are developing software. And the nature of software development is a byproduct of that is technology debt. And there is this constant long tail of technology debt, which causes loss of customers, loss of or issues with security. And so one of the key things, in fact, that we do as part of our cybersecurity asset management capability is highlight to the customer what percentage of your infrastructure is running end of life, end of service products. That is very important because when you plan for the future and you want to do your next year budgeting, you want to be able to say like, do I want to stop everything and just focus on rewriting all of that? Well, that's not practical. But how can I allocate a certain amount of time and money for next year so that we can get rid of this 20-30% technology debt? And so technology debt, addressing technology debt has to be an ongoing, continuous part of any software organization. And given that everybody is a software organization these days, right, everybody needs to be continuously working on updating and upgrading technology, but you have to be able to justify the business reasons for doing that, which typically end up either being, a top line issue, bottom line issue, or security issue.
Great. Makes a lot of sense. Let's pivot over to your recent event that you hosted, the first public sector cyber risk conference, 200 guests there. Can you tell us a bit about that? Where was it? Who was there?
Yeah, I was in DC, and we had a lot of US federal government folks who were there. We had great panels. And for us, it's been interesting because when we started as SaaS, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this, that there was a lot of resistance. People were like, why I can't have my data outside my organization? It felt like if it was somehow within my organization, it was safer. And so we had a lot of resistance, and it was the same from the federal government as well, right? So more recently, the last 10 or so years, the federal government has been really pushing forward with modernization of their technology stack, right? And so the use of SaaS and the corresponding uh, framework around FedRAMP, as an example, has come about so that they can encourage government agencies to use more digital technology, more modern technology, not be stuck in how things were done 20 years ago. And so if you want to modernize your stack, you also want to look at modernizing your security with a modern platform that also is SaaS and actually fits in your cloud strategy a lot better. And so we had resistance initially, but now as we see that the federal government in the US is moving fast towards leveraging cloud technology, this is the right time for us as a company to really be focusing on the federal market because of the propensity of these customers to really say, well, if I'm moving my stack and the apps that I have into the modern cloud, do I want to take my old on-prem systems with me, or do I want to look at something more modern? So we were quite excited with the attendance that we had, given this was our first conference. I mean, a lot of them were like, you guys have been doing so great with almost all the top banks using using guys globally. You must have some good technology that can be helpful for the federal government as well. And so the problems are the same: lack of inventory, lack of visibility into what resources I have, and then too many findings, and then not knowing exactly which is being currently attacked that I should look after. And so pretty exciting for us this year. As we have also talked about in the earnings call a couple of times, good to see traction with some of our federal customers, newer logos coming on board. So we're excited about the potential of this area where we really have extremely small revenue coming from the US federal government right now. And so as we are FedRAMP High ready, we're very excited and waiting for us to get the final FedRAMP certification, because that will make us one of the only solutions that actually is FedRAMP High, that can do the assessment and patch management together in one go, which will be extremely beneficial for federal government agencies to move fast at fixing their technology debt and their security issues.
That's really interesting. It sounds like you've got a bit of a competitive edge there. How should shareholders look at the government opportunity? Is there a lot? I mean, obviously, the U.S. government is gigantic, but is it competitive out there? Are there a lot of other companies chasing the same business?
Yeah, I think that we have competition there in that, like anywhere else, but that competition has been a lot more on the on-prem side. And so older deployments, our competition is not yet the similar FedRAMP status that we have. We invested quite a bit in getting to that FedRAMP state, and the high environment that we are going to get, we're already moderate. And so what we see is that today, from an investor perspective, we have really small revenue, small amount of revenue that's coming from the federal government. The opportunity definitely is large, of course, but like with any federal government initiative, you have to start with the investment. That it takes time for that investment to mature. And so we are at the early stages of the investments that we have made, hiring a good team. We have started to see some of that impact. And so I do believe that in the long term, this federal government opportunity can be quite interesting with the fact that we have a FedRAMP High ready platform that has capabilities that our direct competition today, which is more on-prem, does not have those certifications, et cetera. So we are looking forward to working on this opportunity over the next few years.
Interesting stuff. Sumedh, oftentimes, we interview a wide variety of companies. When they happen to be in the defense, aerospace, or outer space sector, they sometimes, if they're working with the U.S. government, have a bit of a conflict and can't work with other governments. Is that true of you guys, or do you have more flexibility in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, look, we follow all the rules and regulations of the US government requirements on who to do business with. But in general, what we have seen is that, again, because a lot of other countries also have had the advantage of starting their digital transformation much more recently, they've had more flexibility in leveraging modern technology right off the bat because they're not doing sort of a replacement of an older technology. And so we work heavily across the world with many countries and federal governments in different countries, in Europe, in Asia, in South America. And so it's been really good to see that, like I said, cybersecurity has not just been about business, but it has also been very transformative for governments. And of course, a lot of governments, if you look at in Asia, in South America, so if you take the example of Brazil, in India, they are leveraging digital technology to create things like the biometric identity system to uplift millions of people from financial exclusion that they have had by creating digital payments and biometric-based payments, etc. Uh, and again, it goes back to, if you don't have the trust in those systems, people will not use those systems, and these people will not be rising above their financial exclusion that they are, in that zone right now. And so we've had the privilege of working with some of these governments right from day one, like we did in India with UIDAI, really working with them to deploy the Qualys technology as one of the key parts of their cybersecurity stack to make sure that this biometric identity is not compromised, right? Because in an era where you have passwords, if your password is stolen, you can change your password. But if your thumbprint information is stolen, you can't grow a new thumb. And so it becomes even more important to work with these agencies globally. And in general, right, I mean, I think the better job we do anywhere, this technology today will go in other places and will improve the financial situation for many different citizens across different countries as well.
All right, great. Let's dig into some numbers if we could. And I want to tell our viewers something. Not only is this an impressive growth company, it's also very profitable, generates a ton of cash. Gross margins look like a SaaS company margins, very high in the 80s. EBITDA margins also high. Can you tell us what the future looks like without giving me any specific projections, Sumedh? Is there potential for margins to grow even higher over time?
Look, I think where we see is that the business has a lot of efficiencies, and so we're happy with the margins that we have been able to generate, as we have always talked about, that those margins afford us the opportunity to invest back in the business to help us accelerate our top line. And so we have been just the fact that we are one of the very few cybersecurity companies that are public that have such a amazing margin profile. It really tells you that customers want the platform. The way they use the platform can be done in a scalable way, not only for the customers, but it also scales for our business, the way we do our sales and marketing. We definitely see the opportunity there to invest back. And so it's been good for us to see that the last couple of years, we have actually been in a better position than most other companies. Many other companies have had to cut their spending so that they can improve their, free cash flow or show better margin to investors. We've been in a good place where we have the opportunity to actually increase our investment in sales and marketing the last couple of years, right? And that is something that we are investing for the future, so that as we continue this investment, we see the opportunity, we see what our customers are telling us, that this continued investment and leveraging the margin will enable us, I believe, in the future, over the next few years, to really grow and get back to a higher growth rate than where we are right now.
That's great. Makes a lot of sense. You're mature and generating so much profit that you can keep the growth story alive by reinvesting. That makes a lot of sense. One more question on that cash flow. I noticed that you've returned a ton of that to shareholders through buybacks. Would that be the expectation in the future, or might you see M&A opportunities because your balance sheet's so healthy?
Yeah, we are always evaluating this, the balance, and a lot of it is just dependent on, our ability to create new technology, because we have such a amazing platform that enables to add technology fast. It's also about where the market is at, where valuations are at, what's meaningful for us to do. And so we've always been open as a public company to look at different options. And so as we are seeing private company valuations are starting to reset this year, it definitely gives us the opportunity to leverage, part of that cash to see if there are acquisition potential out there, whether it is for customer acquisition or technology acquisition, if that makes sense. What we want to focus on is we provide our customers a unified and easy to use way for the entire platform. So whatever we're going to do and whatever we look forward, we want to find the right asset that will actually fit well with the platform and can be additive to our business. And so just having been in a position where we actually are generating cash and that we have cash and we can balance that buyback with acquisition opportunities, we are always evaluating that. And certainly I am looking forward and hopeful that with some of the valuation resets that are happening right now in the private markets, we could have more opportunities that we can look at that might be meaningful for us to do something in the future.
All right, makes sense. Last question here, if I might, Sumedh. I like to ask our guests what they're most excited about for the rest of the year, but given we're already in the fourth quarter, why don't I push it out to 2025? What are you most excited about doing? You've been with the business or the company a long time. Tell us what's on your mind for next year.
Look, I'm really excited about this enterprise TruRisk management platform because for a while we've developed our own technology. We added ability to get visibility into different parts of the infrastructure, but not everything, right? Like Qualys doesn't do all aspects of cybersecurity. And what I have really seen over the last couple of years that as the bottom line started to get tighter, people had to justify their spend in different aspects of the business, including cybersecurity. And unlike sales or marketing, how do you justify your spend in cybersecurity? Well, it has to be based on how much risk you're reducing, right? So if you are able to go and say that, hey, look, there is a 75% probability of an attack that would cause a $10 million loss every day, then you can go and say, look, I want to spend $500,000 to bring that potential down from 75 to 30. And that's an acceptable limit for me. And very, very few CISOs are able to do that, to have that kind of a business conversation. And because they lack the visibility, because if you ask them, what is your risk management posture right now, they will show you 10 different dashboards of top 10 things from 10 different vendors. But what does that mean? If you tell the board that, hey, we have 40,000 vulnerabilities, what does that mean to the business? If you tell them we fixed 100,000 vulnerabilities, what does that mean? You implemented zero trust. The technology, what does that mean? Like, are we 10 times safer? Are we 2 times safer? People are not able to address that. So I'm really excited with the conversations that we are having with our CISOs. And they are like, we always talk to our customers, but I've never seen so many completely sold out sessions when we bring CISOs to talk about risk quantification and board reporting. They are really looking forward to transform. And I think this is going to be transformative to the industry, where we pivot less about the acronyms and the hottest thing and more towards looking at it from a business lens to say, what is the risk of a loss? And, there are 5 different love languages, but there's only one language for risk, and that's money. And so I think we're really excited about the enterprise risk platform and what that movement is doing towards helping organizations talk about cyber, but in the context of business and speak the business language. And that's really what I'm looking forward for the next couple of years in what we're doing. Of course, other than that, we are excited about the federal business and our cloud adoption, etc. But I think looking at it at a little bit long term from a transformative aspect of it, I think this ability to do enterprise risk management for cyber is going to be quite exciting.
All right, exciting stuff indeed. We're going to leave it there, Sumedh. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been Sumedh Thakar, who's President and CEO of Qualys. I'm John Janarone, Editor-in-Chief, signing off.